Hi, this is going to be one of our first experiments at flipping the classroom a little bit and having me do a mini lesson on video and uploading it to Google Classroom, and then being prepared for the next day's lesson. It's actually the Monday of Labor Day weekend right now, so I'm missing a little bit of the Buckeyes game to talk to you about writing territories. So last year we did heart maps as a way to generate ideas for writing for slices of life and different kinds of writing that we're going to be doing. And I still love heart maps, and you can still create another heart map this year if you'd like to generate some ideas, but I'm also going to tell you a little bit about another idea, which is writing territories. It's really the same concept, categories of things that you like to write about and things that you want to explore, maybe, talking about different interests that you have that you might turn into some kind of research, or things that you want to talk about with Slice of Life. But I tried out a little writing territory concept of my own. It's kind of a rough sketch, but you can see it right here. Hopefully you can see it is a map. Hard to see a little bit, but it's a map because one of the things that I love to write about is my childhood. And so I thought the best way to start brainstorming about stories I like to tell is by drawing a map of my childhood home. I lived on 7.5 acres, so it was a big place, but it was a little house, and you can kind of see it right there. And you see that I drew a fireplace. There's a rough sketch of woods and a creek in the back and a pond and a barn, all the important things to me. And as I looked at each space of the place, I started brainstorming. So where the fireplace is, I said, that inside we had a wood stove that looked just like you might have in Little House on the Prairie or an old-fashioned house. And I loved it. I remember my dad getting up early in the morning and putting firewood in, and I even helped him chop the firewood. And we had dogs and cats that lived inside our house, loved them. I was an only child, so that's kind of an interesting thing to write about. Most people have brothers and sisters, and I didn't, and so I played a lot by myself and really didn't mind too much being by myself. But I do remember a period of time where I wanted a brother and a sister, and that's always fun for me to write about. My mom was a teacher, so maybe that's why I became a teacher. My dad worked in factories and warehouses as a manager and eventually bought his own business. And I remember helping both of them in their jobs. We had a great big pasture that I used to mow, and I also used to ride my horse out there. So my horse is something I like to write about. We had a pond that I did some fishing in and some ice skating and swam in it. Had friends over that we did a lot of stuff in the pond, and my friends loved it too. These woods back here, I used to read back there, and I would play in the creek and catch salamanders and pretended that I was different book characters that I was into at the time. I was totally horse crazy, so like the Black Stallion and all that kind of thing was important to me. This is a long driveway that came later because after I got married, we actually built our first house back behind my mom and dad's. So that's where we had Libby and Katie, and we had our first dog and our first cat, and lived there for 7 years. So that was a really important bonding time too for my kids and their grandparents. I have a little arrow there because my best friend lived across the street. Her name was Michelle. So this kind of gives you an idea of one way to brainstorm writing territories is to start with a map of something that's important to you. It doesn't have to be your house. It can be school. It can be a sports field. It could be a place you like to vacation, or maybe your grandmother's house. It could be a school bus. It could be a some place that you spend a lot of time at, a friend's house. It could be the beach or a lake. Maybe some place that you like to spend a lot of time. It could be your dream place. Maybe it's a future thing. Maybe it's inside a certain kind of book. So be creative. I looked online, and some people, there were all kinds of different. Some people just drew a map of the United States because they love to travel, and they put all the different places where they've been and they want to write about. So you can think about that. And so that's what we'll be doing in class tomorrow, is creating writing territory maps. So think about what map you want to draw, maybe even brainstorm with your mom or dad or sibling tonight to think of some things that you could create tomorrow. If you want to do a heart map instead, just like we did last year, that's okay too, just as long as you're generating writing ideas. Because one of the things that you gave me a lot of feedback about last year, especially in the March Slice of Life Challenge, is that you had writer's block. You started to wonder what you were going to write about. So we're going to do better about that this year and take opportunities to make lists and start ideas so that you never have to worry about what to write about. Okay, so I will see you in class, and hopefully you'll get lots of good ideas.